I'm calling this meeting to order, the Planning Committee meeting of August 13th, 2026 at 10 a.m. Can do roll call.
Yes, Janet Selden,
Here.
Adrian Byram,
Here.
Leanne Hamaji,
Here.
and Nan Warren.
Here.
Roll call is taken.
Any comments on the minutes from our July 9th meeting? If not, we will accept them. If any of them want to speak. If anyone wants to speak, they need to fill out the form right now.
And starting the member forum.
Sir.
Members are welcome to speak during the designated member forum at Rossmore Walnut Creek, RWC, board and committee meetings, either in person or via Zoom. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes and must clearly state their full name and Rossmore address before beginning. If speaking on behalf of another member, a signed consent form is required. To speak, members must submit a completed member form slip prior to the start of the forum. Member form slips and guidelines are available at the meetings. For convenience, both the guidelines and forms may be also accessed and printed in advance from the RWC Board and Committee Meetings webpage. Please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded. By attending and participating, including during the open forum, attendees agree to and release RWC from all liability. Any voice and/or likeness being recorded and broadcast for any lawful purposes without compensation. For more details, including instructions on how to participate, submit written comments, and access printable member forum guidelines and forms, please visit myrossmore.com, Rossmore Governance, RWC meetings. We have Lori Weston. She's going to speak on behalf of Giselle Huff today. Lori, you have 2 minutes to speak for Giselle. If you stand there, and please state complete name and Rossmore address. You have 2 minutes.
For me and Giselle, for myself and Giselle, or just for Giselle?
Just for Giselle.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Come stand here, please.
Come to the table. I'm speaking for Giselle Huff. I do not have her address because I gave it to you. I do
Okay.
apologize. I know it, would you like?
It's here, it's
I
here.
have it.
Okay. She had to leave early, but she was here and she wanted this to be read. I want to reiterate how committed the Rossmore community is to the preservation of the Gateway Club complex as to the accommodation of the staff at a refurbished or new facility at Rockville. Many of us are helping celebrate the library's 50th birthday, and we deeply appreciate how well it is run and the volunteers who are our neighbors. I also learned that the board has tabled the disposition of the pickleball courts for 2 months. As I understand it, it was the intent to repurpose or restore dual use back to dedicated tennis courts or to evaluate them for other community recreational use once dedicated pickleball courts were fully operational. I do hope the board sticks to this plan and finally provides relief to the residents across from the courts who have been subjected to the noise for all these years. Thank you.
Joe Registon.
Good morning, I'm Joe Regenstein and I live at 2607 Southland Indian Drive, number 1, immediately across Rossmore Parkway from the Creekside Pickleball Courts. Please focus the upcoming study on option 2, that is how best to remove the pickleball courts and provide a natural landscape for all Rossmorians. I am a professor emeritus at Cornell University and a member of its Center for the Environment. We already know that the creek bed is eroding. The most sustainable protection we can provide is to stop pounding the ground with pickleball or badminton activities. How can Rossmore seriously consider making the golf courses Audubon certified organic while trashing the creek bed? The proposed scope of the consultant-led study falls short because it doesn't establish objective common evaluation criteria to all alternatives, including community benefits and residential compatibility. It doesn't broaden stakeholder engagement to include the wider Rossmore community and potential users of passive open space alternatives. It doesn't require option 2 to be developed sufficiently to permit a fair comparison, including modest landscaping with passive amenities, rather than treating it simply as a demolition with minimal restoration. Option 3 is not strategic. Moving the courts 3 feet away from the creek is short-sighted and environmentally flawed. It also brings the courts even closer to the Rossmorians who have already suffered with the constant noise. Please do not spend any more time or money on studying how to decimate the environmentally sensitive creek bed. Rather, focus on option 2 while incorporating the new California law concerning grass and open spaces to serve all Rossmorians. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Weed.
Good morning. I'm Carol Weed. I live at 1277 Avenida Sevilla 2A. I'd like to make some comments about the first design set for the Rockbridge office plan. I'm not an architect. I don't really understand a great deal of what was provided to you and in the agenda, but I tried to understand it. First comment or question I have is there's no mention of parking. Maybe that's standard in designs, but I would hope in the future there would be some discussion of that, because we really need to figure out a way to not have any more vehicles come down to the valley than we have already, which is a different ongoing problem. And I'm wondering about the cost estimates that are 9 million, 10 million, 11 million, or something like that. A couple months ago, a presentation was hosted by the Chinese American Club. Many of the directors attended, and I don't know if the whole board has received any written information about what happened there. But one of the proposals by an architect as a volunteer resident of Rossmore was a proposal for 2 different ways to approach the redo of the office buildings. And one of them came in at $1.5 million, and the other one was something more than that. So there's a big discrepancy between that and 9 million, and I'm hoping that the architects who would speak today could address that. Thank you.
Pat Shanahan.
Good morning. I'm Pat Shanahan. I live at 703 Terra, California, and I'm here today to talk about the pickleball issue because I live very close to it. And only recently, since I retired 3 months ago, have I had the experience of living it there 7 days a week versus the weekends. I would encourage the board, as they consider alternatives, to consider an ADA compliant outdoor, I'm going to call it a park for people. I recently was looking for a place to gather with some friends too who have mobility issues. And none of the major parks, Creekside, pickleball, fireside, not calling it, up where the bocce courts are, is a long walk. Shady Glen is not wheelchair accessible, and many of the other ones aren't. So I really encourage you to consider that. We have many people who are handicapped or who have mobility issues, and for them to enjoy the outdoors would be great. The second thing is, and I don't know who to ask this of, but I have a copy of the evaluation, and I was wondering if it isn't possible to have some of the things that are consultant-driven be done in-house without incurring additional costs. I encourage you to look at alternatives and ask all of the community, because pickleball players and the residents across from Creekside are not the only stakeholders in this. So I encourage you to take a look at that, and I would think that could be done early in the process rather than later, and focus groups, exclusive of doing focus groups later. So thank you.
Thank you. We do not have any member forums over Zoom, so that completes the member forum for today.
So, chair's report, We have a lot of discussion items today, and we have our ELS person here to present to us. And we only have 2 action items, so I think these 2 discussion items are going to take up most of the meeting. So I think we should get started on the capital project update that Ann and Kelsey are going to provide.
Great. Yeah, I'll make this brief in the interest of time. I'll just kind of give you the highlights on everything that's on the sheet.
Mhm.
Share my screen. Okay, great. So starting at the top of the list with the pavement program, you're going to see some, we have some contracts that are up for review. Oh, it's not sharing. Interesting. Trust me, there is a spreadsheet, so it's attached to the staff report. Okay, so the pavement program is on the agenda later today. We spoke that our roof replacement, which is the skylight at the fitness center, we're in the construction document phase, and we should be bidding that so we can bring a proposal to this committee for consideration as part of the capital project. On the pickleball courts, the estimated completion has been pushed to September. Last month we were talking October. There's a bit of a delay in the sourcing of the fencing, which is kind of on 1.5 sides of the building. So because of the supply chain on that, we're experiencing a little bit of a delay, but we're excited. We will be open towards the end of September. Next week, they're doing a lot of just in case people are trying to figure out what's happening, because once they're doing a lot of work in the interiors, it looks like it's standing still. But there's actually a lot of work that's happening starting next week, including they're starting to prep the floor to put the whole flooring system in, so that'll be pretty exciting. Additionally, there'll be a lot of work happening to grade around the facility in preparation for the all of the concrete work and the landscaping. So that's what you'll be seeing over the next couple of weeks. For the RWC admin relocation, David will give us a presentation a little bit. For food and beverage, I think people are aware that the coffee trailer is open. If not, please go in and check it out. I think you're gonna find the price points are really wonderful. I bought a round of very fancy coffee drinks for people for half of what I could have done at Starbucks and was really pleased. And that's located as you enter, it's across from the driving range as you enter into the golf area. There's no movement on Hillside Park Space Master Plan. The golf course liner, we're also working with a couple of different vendors to get comparative cost proposals so we can bring one for recommendation to the committee, so we can also include it in the capital projects for next year. For the NetSuite implementation, we continue working on the Vermont system, all the information migration and building the systems for all of the different resident services programs. We're still on target to have a bit of a launch. It's a little staggered launch in the first quarter of next year, starting with recreation. I think golf is going to be the last to go online. The event center pickleball solar, so that'll happen at the conclusion of the project of the pickleball facility build. Will start on the solar, and so we're working with solar right now to coordinate the timeline on that. There's no movement on golf water conservation projects. And the Dollar Clubhouse master plan, that's kind of tied in to the project above, so you'll be hearing about that today. As we move to the bottom of the list, because there's no activity on anything really, actually that's not true. I think at the bottom of the list, Stacy has a little bit of a report on the transportation study. Did I call you Stacy? Stacy will be joining us shortly.
So yesterday was the beginning of the community outreach, so hopefully everyone has taken part in the survey. So the survey includes 3 different types of surveys for transportation dependent users, users by choice, and primarily drivers. It's available online or in the Rossmore News. It's also available in paper format at our desk here at Gateway. It has been promoted in the news on myrossmore.com. Everyone hopefully received it through Nixle, in email, and through text message. It's at our registration front counters. There are flyers that you can scan a QR code to complete on your phone. And it's on all of our buses, and all of our users at the buses received a handout to scan a QR code to also complete it. And we also have the handouts at our front desk that if you cannot take a picture of the QR code in the moment, you can take a handout with you and scan your QR code at home. The deadline to complete the survey is August 31st. One of the questions within the survey is that if you like to participate in an in-person workshop with our consultant, this is different than a previous onboard surveys with the consultant. We will not be doing that this time. The average onboard time of our users is 20 minutes, so that's not a lot of time for our users to speak with our consultant. So in lieu of that, we're doing an in-person workshop on August 26th. If any of our participants would like to join, we will be selecting at random. So we encourage that if you'd like to participate, to give your email, and by the end of next week, we will reach out to the users that have been selected to participate in that in-person workshop. And then later in the fall will be an additional workshop for others to participate for speaking with our consultant. And as of this morning, we've already had over 400 submissions of the survey.
Great, wow,
So that is my update.
great. Okay, anything else to add? Any questions for the team?
Tell us again where the survey is?
Everywhere.
Paper survey.
The paper surveys, they are at our front desk. They look like this. They're also in the Rossmore News on page 7A and 8A, but they're just large versions of it. We've actually only received about 8. All of those submissions are online, but they are available here.
Okay, good.
And they are just getting returned to our consultant to submit into the portal, so.
Item 7, discussion on how to proceed with the evaluation of the Creekside. Who is leading that discussion? Chip?
I am, I was just,
Oh,
for
great.
some reason, we're not able
We're
to
having a
share.
problem
Yeah,
with
we're not able to
sharing.
share. Okay.
Can you put it on, like, send it to
You
one
want
of their
to
computers?
try and plug in and see if they can share
I mean,
that
they should be
way?
able to,
Yeah, we plug it in.
I don't know if she has an HDMI plug.
I do have an HDMI.
There you go.
I just don't have a laptop. Okay, so I can talk while we're fidgeting. So we had this item at the June 11th meeting where we were trying to figure out what to do with the pickleball courts. I think it's gotta be something with our equipment, and actually, I can't be on. So I can't be on Zoom and plugged in. I know that, so I'm not gonna be able to do it. I don't know if one of you can open it the way you're set up. Okay, and so the reason we came back to the committee about what to do with the pickleball courts, and it was covered in the last staff report, is that when we embarked on trying to relocate the pickleball courts, we didn't really talk about the disposition of Creekside, which is being used as pickleball courts. And so at the time, staff did a very high level, type of assessment of if we were to rehab it and try to, cut away, and it's about 20 feet away from the creek in order to kind of reconfigure the pickleball courts. If we were to kind of create it into a park of some kind or rewild it. And so we have these different options, and the recommendation from this committee was to at the end of, so when we do open the new pickleball facility, so that, whatever that date is that we open it, we would close the courts, and then like 2 weeks after that date, we would close those pickleball courts and evaluate further what to do. And so when it went to the board, they wanted to come back and kind of look at the different options a little bit further. And so what staff did, and I apologize that we can't put it on the board, but attached to the staff report, it is part of the agenda that's been publicly noticed. We put together, again, this is high level, so when we start talking about things, just understand this isn't literal, it's not an RFP. What we wanted to do is to say that we kind of have two paths we can take at this point until you weigh in, and there may be other paths that we could take. But we wanted to do this as a conversation starter with the committee, because we were asked to bring this back by the board. They asked us to come back here and talk about how do we want to approach evaluating the site. So what we did is a little bit of a side-by-side on this is what we can do as staff. And so pretty much it talks about like really further detailed analysis of the different three options that we provided. There's also the option to enlist the support of a consultant, which would most likely be a landscape architecture firm that has expertise in being able to work with community engagement and to really evaluate with much more detail, including renderings on different options and what can happen. And when you look at the side by side, I think it's easier to talk about the differences than what staff can do and a consultant. So the consultants can look at the same things we presented, which is like no action, just closing and abandoning, removing the courts and restoring the area to either park or some, rewilded area, or rehabilitating existing courts. But when you have that type of expertise, they can also more effectively, because they are a neutral party, facilitate conversation from the different stakeholders, different parties of interest, to really talk about the disposition and potentials. We heard yet another idea which hasn't come up from one of the speakers today about some type of accessible park space, right? And so those type of ideas could be more fully vetted out by that type of a consultant guiding us through to the project. Also, when it talks about the project scoping and the recommendation, I think their planning level cost estimates could be more accurate because what they are investigating is more thorough from the expertise of that profession. And they can give more comparative, like they can give a more better detailed comparative analysis of the different alternatives. And so that information was provided to tilt up a conversation to talk about how best you think we should proceed with the evaluation.
Okay. Any questions, any further comments, Jeff?
So I think that the direction that you should evaluate and provide is really driven by what have your interests are in the future of those courts. If you want to explore retaining a existing asset, the steps that staff would take, we would update the sound study. So we have concrete evidence of what can be mitigated from a sound perspective based on 3 courts using available recommended materials. What would that action do in terms of the noise impact on the neighbors? We would do a update of the geotech report that was previously done, go back to that company and say, based on moving 15, 20 feet away from the creek and restoring only the sliver that is needed, what is the likelihood that would not be impacted by erosion over the next so many years? So we have pretty specific evidence of that. And then you can make a decision based on that more or less concrete evidence of should we retain this as a existing asset or take alternative steps to restore it to another something else. If your intent or interest is not to retain it necessarily as the existing asset, but to explore, should it just be returned to nature? Should it be a park? Should it be something else? then a consultant might be a good step. You could take the staff-driven step as step one, and then following that information, take the consultant path if you don't feel there's enough information to make a decision. So you can do it in 2 phases as well.
Are you saying that the staff would be able to update the sound study and reports for them, or they would coordinate it
So
with the existing?
Yeah, what we would do is go back to the acoustic consultant that remember, we did a sound study based on 7-chord layout previously, and we have that report, it is available. We would go back to that consultant and say, based on 3 chords, this proximity, this information, can you update the recommendations of the study? Same thing with the geotech report that was previously done. We would go back to them and say, based on these conditions, what would your recommendations be?
And then if we decided after that to hire a consultant, they will use those studies. They're not gonna make us do it over again, right?
No, they can
Okay.
utilize that information.
So a logical step one, I think, would be to have the staff do that first. And even, not just even as the pickleball, but even as a park. I mean, the concern is the creek. And do we want anything there? So I think having the staff start with that seems logical to me.
So we can update that information, bring it back to you for further discussion. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'd be open to that, having staff look at it first and then taking that evaluation and moving forward. I think it's really important to, when you talked about having it go back to a park, I'd like staff to kind of break that out. We're not, there's making it, handing it back to the wild, as you said,
Yeah.
or there's a park requires landscape engineering. So, you know, what's entailed in that? What are estimates of cost for that? How does that affect the coupon, if anything, on maintenance? You know, we need to know that type of thing. I think baseline, we need to know an acoustic report or an evaluation, no matter what happens. Because whether it's used for pickleball or not, I can see maybe 4 different uses for that property that as an amenity and sport uses. And so maybe we need to know the acoustics issue or the findings for considering any.
Again,
more of
not
those.
just for pickleball sounds, but if it's a gathering spot and people are having parties and events and there's loud noise or
Well,
music.
there may not be, but there may
Right.
be yelling or whatever.
Right, I mean, yes, I agree that it should be more than just
Some of
the
that would,
pickleball.
some of that would be kind of a next phase. So if step one, we're going back and just updating existing studies and recommendations, you can then discuss that in context of retaining the existing amenity. If you then want to explore other options because that option doesn't appeal, or you want to just see what other options are available, that's when you may want to go to a landscape consultant, for example, and have them develop further options. That's when you want to get into some of the community engagement and so forth. The step one really is just saying, because right now you're contemplating the existing amenity and what the impact may be without having the information. Like, we don't know how much we can mitigate sound with various techniques. So once you know that information, you know what the actual impact to the neighborhood would be.
Yeah.
So one of the things I would like to know is what other possibilities might there be for these former pickleball tennis courts? And I do know that, while I don't play badminton, I'm aware that people do, and that they play badminton at the recreation center down the road. So I would ask staff to go down and say, how many how many badminton people do you have? How many of you do you think might be living in Rossmore? And that way we could sort of figure out if we even have an audience for such a thing. Without going any farther than that, it might give us more to know. I hope that would be okay.
So today, I would say, yes, let's proceed with investigating it as an amenity of some sort. Amenities, we have it, it's designated as an amenity. Amenities cost a lot of money to install. Let's proceed with that and see, like you said, the staff evaluation of that. And then decide later.
Adrian.
One of the key things that we talked about at the last meeting, I believe, was that we are going to put a pause on actually doing anything in terms of actually executing any plan for at least 6 months until we have this study, however it's conducted, complete. So we understand better how the new pickleball facility is actually being used, how many people are using, when they're using it, what demand is, et cetera, so that we have a better understanding. As I look at these two, I'm really kind of in favor of the consultant-driven evaluation. I feel we need to step back to take a completely new look, not be trapped by what we have done in the past, and have somebody who's not looked at this at all walk in with new eyes, new vision, that understands about facilities like badminton or, we put in grass tennis courts. I don't know, but I mean, there's a lot of different options, right? And we haven't really explored what those options are because we're kind of trapped by our own, by what we've done in the past. And so for that reason, I would really like to see a consultant come in. They don't have to spend a lot of money up front. Just come up with some ideas, do some focus groups around the community, and try and get an understanding of where there are possibilities, and then take those 2 or 3 possibilities that emerge, and then follow those through to understand fully what it would cost to do those and whether they should, which one of those we should pick. So that would be my recommendation.
And Nan, you didn't really weigh in whether you wanted staff or
I'd like to-
consultant first.
I'd like to see how far staff could get before we call the consultant.
I have a question. Can we ask the pickleball club to keep track of people who are coming in? They're not in their schedule of events, I don't know, open play, whatever they call it, where it's just community people who want to play. And because that was the vision of keeping it, it wouldn't be part of the pickleball club structure. It would just be there for anybody. You take your grandkid whenever you want, you go play for fun. You're not stuck in this, you're a beginner, you're a moderate, you're this. When you can play, the hours, it's open. So
I can see if they have the data.
yeah, a way to evaluate it would be to know how many community people just want to come in and try it, have fun, whatever. Since that's part of the consideration. And also at the fitness center, because they have pickleball courts inside the fitness center. And who uses those, right? I don't know. Yeah.
And speaking of money, we used to have 25,000 assessed for this project. It's not on the capital budget now, or capital plan. I wonder what happened to it.
Oh, no, I think that's still available. And we would access part of that to update the sound and the geotech. Those would definitely not reach the 25,000 mark, but
Should it be here listed? Because it used to be here.
Oh, sorry. Well, nothing's been approved yet. It was put in the, there's probably a glitch in the connection of the sheet.
No, I know. I
Nothing's
mean, a
been-
lot of things on here haven't been approved,
Yeah.
but we had an entry of 25,000.
Yeah. Yeah, we estimated it'll be no more than 25, should do the basic.
Okay, I just want to make sure that's still,
Well, I think we have a little bit of a split of opinion about how to proceed.
I don't know, it sounds like, I don't know, maybe Adrian, you're pushing it a little further down the line, but are you in favor of looking at what staff comes back with?
Yes, I think it's a start. It's not gonna affect the timeline that much.
I just feel that when you start going down a path, it becomes more and more like, oh, yeah, that's the path. You know, you're at a crossroads
Yeah,
and you pick a path and you get down that pathway and you say, oh, yeah. You keep going. It's hard to turn around and say, oh, shit, we did the wrong thing.
so if
Turn
we
around, come
start
back,
with
you
the
know, so
consultant,
if you're at a crossroads,
Yeah.
this is a wonderful, perfect time to just say, think about all the options and not commit to any.
Well, the board could evaluate that also at that level.
Yes.
And decide, but I'm hesitant to throw money at it just yet.
And I am too. I'm just not ready to start saying, here's some money, tell us what you think after you think it. I'd rather see how far we can get, even though it is down a one-way road.
And one of my reasonings for that is this is a good chart, but it's still very high level.
Yes.
And so I would like to have you drill down a little further and come back with,
More of a comprehensive, what a comprehensive
Yeah.
RFP would look like.
yes, that would be helpful. An RFP for a consultant.
So can we do step one and report back to you in September meeting, just what we have conclusively found out, if we can get it in time, from the geotech
Yeah.
and sound consultant, and then you can guide us after that. Is that
I'd be okay with that.
I mean, you want to close them for a period of 6 months. We have time to develop a RFP. So if we could do that as step one, and then RFP consideration, maybe October, if you want to go down that path.
Okay,
Is that reasonable?
does that sound okay, Adrian? We'll get there.
Okay, so you don't really need a motion for that then? It's kind
So
of
just direction.
It'd be good to have something that's
Yeah,
directing
can you
us.
craft us a little motion?
Let's see. I move that we ask staff to create a more detailed evaluation of the use, or no, not use. Just detailed evaluation of the future of Creekside Courts.
Starting with the geotech and
Okay,
sound
yeah,
study
starting with geotech
updates.
evaluation.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the updates.
So you anticipate that those will be done before you come back to us, is that correct?
Yes.
Just want to be clear.
Why don't you read the motion back?
Motion to ask staff to create a more detailed evaluation of the future of Creekside Courts, starting with the geotech evaluations that both will be
Geotech and sound acoustic
That's what
study.
I wanted to repeat again.
And that information would be available at our October meeting, if not before.
Will be
Uh,
available
September?
the
Well, I don't think we have to put
be
that in.
available at the September.
Because we're dependent on the consultants.
Yeah, let's not give us a,
Yeah, don't put a
Yeah, we
date
don't
in
need
there.
Yeah, back it up.
we'll strive for,
Yeah,
They love that. They love when you do that.
Acoustics evaluation, okay?
yeah. Do we have a second? Second. Okay,
And Janet Selden,
yes.
Adrian Byron,
Abstain.
Leanne Hamaji, Nan Warren.
Yes.
Motion carried, unanimously approved. Sorry. Get that. And,
He abstained. Okay,
yes.
okay. All right, new business. David, Review report from ELS Architects regarding the cost estimate comparison of 3 construction options for the Rockview Center.
So just to give a quick introduction to David Massentins with ELS Architects. He has been working on the overall capital program that we have been presenting and discussing with the planning committee and the board and the community for the last several months. This study is really driven based on the feedback that we received from the town halls, the open house forum, and so forth, that the preference was to focus in on what is possible up at Rockview, the current site for both RPM, IT, and accounting, as well as some other ancillary uses. Whether or not that existing building can be more or less renovated, would we need to tear it down and construct new, or could we use modular construction? So the board authorized a study by ELS to evaluate those 3 options and to provide some cost estimates based on their overall description of what a renovation or a new build would include. So I'll turn it over to David to kind of go through his process of how they came up with these, and then more specifically, a little bit more detail on the various cost estimates. I want to caution you, these are not budgetary items. This is not what we are basing a future budget on. This is information for kind of comparative process at this time. So I don't want to go down the line and a little bit, several years go by and we say, well, we always said it was going to be only this amount or that amount. These are not for budgetary purposes at this point.
Thank you, Jeff. So as you mentioned, we had a lot of comments in the town hall and the open houses in terms of what we could do at Rockview. So we were brought in to ask our consultants to do a review of the existing facility, understand the evolution that got that facility to where it is, and look at 3 potential options. One would be remodeling it, one would be demolishing it and building a new building, and a third option would be demolishing it and replacing it with a modular building. So the existing building was originally in 1960 built as a shop, the same as the other shops. It's a butler-style building, which is what we're building at the pickleball courts. And it just had a metal siding and some windows. And then over the course of renovations over a series of decades, some of those shops were converted into the offices, of which you have about 12,500 square foot of office. So it's not a modular building per se, and that does allow us to do a renovation of it. It's just it's not very code compliant, and it doesn't have a lot of modern technology in it. A couple of the largest issues that it has is accessibility issues in terms of ADA clearances. It does not have fire sprinklers. We could probably get around that by code and not provide them, but that's a pretty typical thing that you would provide for insurance reasons for an office building. The structure is old. In theory, if we redesign the interior, we can probably save the structure without doing a seismic upgrade to it. But if we end up demolishing a large part of the interiors, it would probably be wise to do a seismic upgrade. So the short answer with that building is you can renovate it. It does come at a significant cost, but there's a possibility to do that. No matter what option we look at, we're going to be looking at, do we do fire sprinklers up there? And to do that, because it's up a hill, we have to put in a fire pump and we have to put a 12,000 gallon tank up the hill, and that's about $170,000. So that's sort of an overlay to all of the options. There's also different design timelines and building timelines for these. So we figured that an interior renovation could be done in about 10 months, new construction about 12 months of construction, but a modular could probably be done in about 4 months. So with a modular, we would have to demolish the building, we'd have to demolish the foundation. Walnut Creek does not have very good soil, and that foundation is not in great shape. And then we build a new foundation and then simultaneously work with a modular company to create a custom layout for what Ross Moore's needs were today. So those were the 3 options we looked at. I want to talk a little bit about the cost because the numbers at the bottom line are very big numbers. They're all big numbers. But I want to show you how we get there. So the option one remodel, just the direct construction cost, is about $6.2 million. The new construction is about $7.5 million. And then the modular construction is about $8 million. And on top of that, there are construction fees, general requirements, contingencies, and then we escalated the construction of whenever this would be done. We assumed it would be done in the beginning of 2028. So the costs are escalated to the middle of construction of that time. Construction costs have gone up quite a bit. I could talk about that, what percentages we use, but we think that they're probably reasonable. So that gets us to an option one remodel of about $9 million, a new construction of about 11, and modular is about $10 million. The reason the modular is a little cheaper, even though the initial construction cost is more, is that the design's rolled in and there's less contingency because we don't need to pull as much for modular. Now, on top of that, in addition to those costs, we want to think about, we have to pay for design engineering, permitting, testing, inspection, and then the owner probably is going to hold a contingency as well. So that brings up the remodel to about a $12 million project, the new construction to about 14 million, and the modular to about 12 million overall. So, a lot of that difference, we know that there's going to be contingency. That's going to be up to Rossmore to decide how much contingency to hold. The escalation is an estimate, but a lot of the contractor fees and permitting fees, that's going to be regardless of how it's managed. They're all reasonable options, but they're all costly options. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the specifics.
Could you talk a bit about the life of a modular unit?
So I think with a modular, we could probably assume it would be about 30 years. It's a good question. If we do a new build, it would, you're probably looking at 50 plus years. A remodel, so the remodel cost, if we just leave the siding and leave the windows as it is, that might shorten its lifespan a little bit. We do have a number in there to redo the exterior. That's another $850,000. But I think that a remodel would probably also, get you in that 40 to 50 year range.
Are there lots of different possibilities for a modular situation?
Yeah, so modulars, you can really customize modulars nowadays. There's nothing in the program that you would want to do, knowing all the different uses that's unusual in terms of conference rooms, closed offices, open office area. All of that falls within a typical office modular realm. So it's doable.
And is it one giant modular thing or is it like pieces or?
So that's a great question. So they build them in 12-foot wide by 60-foot long max segments because they've got to truck them here. And then they assemble them in pieces. So it would be a series of assembled pieces.
And have you seen these modular?
Yeah, we've done some modular on other projects. We've worked with Factory OS, Cal Modular. We've been to their factories. They're well-built products. I think for your needs, they probably meet what you need.
Okay, we have someone on Zoom, Ted Bentley, board member, has a clarifying question. Yeah.
So how does this,
You can
hi,
unmute yourself. Yes.
how does this affect the employees at Gateway as far as making a one-stop shop and having everything in one location?
So the concept behind this planning effort is really focused on maintaining the existing staffing that is at Rockview at that location. For the most part, retaining the existing staffing at Gateway, here at Gateway. There might be some tinkering with some departments, but you would still have a presence at both locations.
So I have a question about the costs per square foot. I'm a little surprised at them because they're in the $700-800 dollars a square foot. And that's pretty high. I mean, you look at new construction here in Walnut Creek, and it's not a cheap area to build. And you're looking at $500, $600, $700. $1,000 a square foot is a fairly nice property typically, and that includes the land. You know, and here the land is free. So I'm a little,
No, that's fair.
questioning about those numbers.
That's very fair. We've worked a lot with Cumming Group that is doing this cost estimation. I mean, when I see these numbers, they do surprise me a little bit in terms of how much they are. But I also know the projects I've been doing recently have been around here, you know, in this number. When we're talking about the remodel, that's pretty much a full gut of the building. So that's why you're seeing that number. New construction is just expensive. I mean, I did a very nice office building down in Fremont, the Fremont Bank headquarters, and that was priced out in 2019 at $1,000 a square foot. So it's probably running about $1,400 a square foot now. That's a very different animal than this, which the finishes are straightforward, but the cost, the cost does end up being in that $700 to $800 square foot.
But I mean, if you do a modular, I mean, the whole point, I mean, we've seen modular construction like in San Francisco. They've started to do some modular there for low-income housing. And, you know, and you're getting it, what cost maybe $750,000 a unit is now $500 for a modular. The unions hate it because they don't get to build it, but sticks are just, I mean, a very slow way of building. Factory building is the way to go. I'm surprised that the modular is not actually lower cost because it's cleaner. You're doing it in a factory, your contingencies are lower, et cetera.
I think there's some truth to all of that. Having worked with a fair number of modulars recently, the cost of the modular and the construction of it, and like I've worked with Factory OS recently up in their Mare Island plant, the savings in doing modular is the time. And that reduces your overall contingency, the contractor's overhead, because you can do it instead of a year, you do it in 4 months. But the actual construction and all the materials and all the stuff you put in it is the same. So it ends up being, it's not a huge savings in terms of money. It's a big savings in time.
Yeah, I see.
I just wanted to ask you, in your remarks, you said that the staff might perceive this as temporary. And I was wondering if you could comment on that. And also if you have existing restrooms as they have now, you're making them be much less in this new modular or updated units. You're making them to code rather than what they have now, which is probably gonna not make everybody very happy, huh?
The existing restrooms are not all ADA compliant for a variety of different reasons. So in some cases, they would have to be made a little bit larger, but I think, you know, the thinking is we would demolish some and rebuild them at the accessibility requirements. And so that the shape would be a little bit different. The fixtures would be different. In terms of the temporary nature of modulars, that is a public perception with modular construction. I mean, you can see the seams in the side and you're used to seeing the siding and the types of materials and windows. And you can upgrade those things and make them nicer at more cost. But, you know, usually the people that we talk to view the modular as a temporary solution, so-called, even though they can last for 30 years.
Mm-hmm. And there's no budget in here, well, the wrong thing, the estimate in here for furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Would you guess how much that might cost?
I think that is somewhat dependent on how much we would relocate versus buy new. I mean, I would, you know, if you were buying all new, that's going to probably be, I don't know, $250,000 to $300,000.
Yeah, that's why we say this is not basically for budgetary purposes, but rather for comparison type purposes. And we also wanted to look at, is a remodel possible? Is modular possible, and to answer those questions. This doesn't include also if we do any of the projects, what it would take to relocate for a period of time, the existing staff that's there.
Leanne?
So with our evaluation of possible Dollar Gateway renovation, I was hearing that with financing, that would roll into about 16 or 18 million. So can you walk us through what you envision the process being of taking this information into account and rolling that into what we've already discussed about Dollar Gateway?
Yeah, so at this time, we're not asking for you to make any decisions or choose a specific path, because I think this does need to be considered in the larger context of the overall capital program involving Dollar House and Gateway. And those studies are still in process. We have met with some user groups and done some focus groups with Dollar House, and that is progressing. We'll report on that in the coming months. And then Gateway, consideration of improvements, whether we're talking about food and beverage is the focus, and some other updates would have to be, that scope would have to be determined still. So in terms of budgets and overall planning, I think they all need to be taken somewhat in context. What we learned from this study is that Rockview is a viable site. There's some pros, some cons, some costs, but it is a viable option. What we do with that next in relation to Gateway is what we would need to present to you and evaluate in the coming months.
Okay, Leanne.
So that's good. What am I gonna say? Okay, so I want to just say for the record that this evaluation of Rockview was asked, the residents asked for this. So this is our due diligence to find out exactly how much, an estimate of what those options are up there. But I hesitate to bring this up, but as one of the speakers said, the Chinese American Club had volunteer residents speak to the cost of renovating Rockview and came to a much lower estimate. Can you speak to that and just
It's hard to speak.
give information about it?
It's hard to speak directly because I did watch the presentation, but I don't know really what the full scope is. I think it's unrealistic considering today's construction environment, unless what their plan would be essentially like painting and carpet and ceiling and a few new plumbing fixtures. Unfortunately, that's the reality. You're looking at 12,500 square feet of space, and doing for $1 million. I mean that would be, I don't know, I'd have to do the math, but it's not enough to actually achieve that.
Adrian?
Yeah, so what I was sort of wondering is where do we go from here? Just based on what I've seen so far, the modular looks like a good solution in a way because of its, the fact that it takes 4 months. That's a real important aspect. The fact that it's perhaps lowest contingency, lowest uncertainty, all are in favor of that. But that's not to say that we can make that decision here now. So where do we go forward from here? Do we refine that estimate? Do we pull it all together with the dollar piece? What do you think, Jeff?
So I think the next step is to somewhat park this information and then refocus on Dollar House and Gateway. And what are those possibilities? Let's build consensus towards those design elements and cost estimates and pull it all together somewhat. And then there can be decisions of, well, we just want to focus on dollar, we just want to focus on gateway, timings, the sequence of things, the overall budget impacts. All of that can become a lot clearer on process and steps. But I think we need to have the overall master plan really of those 3 sites before we can make, the board can make informed decisions.
Yeah, makes
You're
sense.
thinking about, that would be what, October, November?
Yeah, it'll take time for sure to start to pull some of these things together, and then there will be community input and so that all will take some time. But we will start to refine based on this information. We'll start to refine what is possible at Gateway. The studies at Dollar are ongoing, so we'll be able to report on that in the coming months. So yeah, we'll start to pull together information that we can then share out to the community and to the committees.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind us of the fact that we're gonna have to spend a fair amount of money implementing the recommendations of the traffic study that we're doing. Otherwise, we'll just come to the end and no money's available. That, according to Roxanne Stallings in yesterday's newsletter, we had a similar study 10 years ago, which we didn't implement. And I don't know whether that's true or untrue, but we have to keep in mind that we're gonna have to spend some money.
So the transit study, the results of which would be more related to operating and ongoing expenses of how we operate whatever the solution is. There certainly could be some capital in terms of investment in vehicles, for example, or software solutions for various things. But the vast majority of that would be, how do we operate? What system do we operate? And those costs would be built into the coupon. The previous study in 2018, we did start to implement that, and then we ran into this little thing called COVID that really changed the nature of that. And so the outcome and the user profile and so forth is really what needs to be updated in the study that's being conducted today.
And I'd also like to point out that the world has changed significantly since that last study was done. The number of drivers available, the potential for EV and AV vehicles, et cetera, has changed. So we really need this Pierre's new view on this whole thing.
But that previous study was not shelved. It was being implemented. We did start to go towards the dial-a-ride, which it recommended. We did implement some technology in terms of dispatch software that it recommended. So we were literally in the process of implementing things when
COVID hit. Susan?
I want to be very careful in terms of how I ask this question. I know we're going to, in some way, take this great information and kind of set it aside while we look at these other issues. But David, from what I'm hearing today, to me, I'm trying to understand what the benefit would be in a renovation. I understand the new build, I understand the modular. Am I off base in trying to figure out what would be the benefit of choosing the renovation path, setting aside the monetary amounts?
I mean, when we embarked on this study, the hope was that would be a significantly cheaper outcome, and it was not. So I agree with you that it's a hard argument to make.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
As you go through the continual evaluation of, or research of what you're doing, I would be especially interested in the relocation costs. Should we do something major with RPM? Because that could significantly add to the cost. So I would like to see that eventually.
Yeah, I have engaged with Larry with Colliers, who is helping with the sale of the medical center, just to get some preliminary ideas based on the size and scope of what we'd be looking at. So we'll start to build that.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody on Zoom have a question?
No questions on Zoom.
Okay, thank you, David.
Yeah, thank you, David.
A
This is
lot
good.
of
Thank you.
information.
So we have actually another meeting at noon.
Okay, now we're gonna move on to new business B. Back to some basics, paving our roads. So we have,
The bid or the maintenance, even areas, the map meeting or the bid list.
does anyone want to speak to that?
Yes, just,
Okay.
we're trying to get the, right exhibit for you. I think eight B2.
You want the maintenance.
Yeah.
There we go.
Perfect. Yes, so we have two items related to pavement and asphalt and all of that wonderful stuff. So annually, we put in the capital budget, there's like two buckets of money. One of them is actually a formal capital program, and the other one is regular maintenance that we do. There's a fund, does everybody remember we moved funding over from the operating budget? So that's where this first project comes from. And so there are two sections, it's a little hard to see, but it's Leisure Lane and then the Hillside Pool parking lot, which is up in the upper right-hand corner. And those have been identified this year for some asphalt inlay maintenance. So basically, instead of like full depth replacement, which is part of capital, which we'll talk about, it's a little bit more surface treatment and some preservation to extend the lives of those paved areas. Martine had some pretty good response from bidders this time. We did send it out to 5 different companies. And we have a new company that was the lowest bidder for this, Rose Paving LLC. And we've actually had experience with this company and know the quality of the work, and they know our community. They used to work under Black Diamond Paving. So references have been checked, and so our request today is for the committee to consider recommendation to approve the expenditure of $165,000 from the RWC facility and maintenance budget. So that's that new fund name.
So for the benefit of new members, or new directors, could you speak a little to why we always have these humongous expenses for pavement? And we have had, I don't think anybody here had the extensive review of pavement with Martine, which is incredibly informative.
Yes.
And this is an ongoing cost that's necessary because we own the roads.
Yes.
And could you just summarize that a little bit, like?
Yeah, so pavement really does have a life. And so there are certain tells when certain structures within the pavement integrity are failing. And what Martine does is he's out there doing inspections of our whole like road and parking lot system. And so with slurry seal, the asphalt inlays, that can really extend the life of roads at a pretty minimal cost. So you'll notice that for this type of kind of like we're trying to extend the life with these things, to do these two sections of the $165,000. If we were to let this go and say, let's not approve this, let's just like keep it in the capital budget. It's one of those things where 2 years down the road, that $1 you spend now can be as much as $3, $5, $7. When it gets to a full depth replacement, this is like, it's like $1 to $8 difference per square foot. So the idea is to really have a program where we have a balance of doing this ongoing maintenance to extend the life, in a good program of the full depth replacement, which then gives us like another, 20, 25, 30 years before you start to do this. And so it's a balance. So you'll see the difference when we ask for the full depth replacement, it's a much larger budget. But I will also, and I just want to say this because I think what Martine does really, really well when he's working with the companies and the timing to bid and do the work, he's always trying to find that sweet spot when the companies are looking for work. Because a lot of the companies we use do more schools and things like that where they have to do it a certain time of year. So they do it when their work is light. And so usually we'll do those placeholders in the capital budget as if we don't get that right window. But you'll see again that has a bid for much less than we anticipate the cost will be.
In the capital budget, we frequently talk about, the new projects, the cost of pickleball, the cost of something new. And why is it 18,000 for the membership transfer fee? These type of projects here that's before you right now, in terms of maintaining the existing infrastructure, actually represents a fairly substantial portion of the annual capital budget. And it's important to highlight when you drive through the gate and are on these private roads, that the experience is substantially different than when you're in a typical neighborhood in any city, USA. So we are constantly investing not only in these new amenities that keep Rossmore fresh, but in existing amenities, and the roads are definitely an amenity. So just wanted to point that out, that a lot of the expenses on that, one of your top priorities actually in considering the budget is always maintaining our existing infrastructure.
Thank you.
I would like to move that we recommend to the board that they approve an expenditure not to exceed $165,000 from the RWC facility and maintenance budget for pavement maintenance projects, and authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Rose Paving LLC for $150,338.
One second.
Janet Selden,
Yes?
Adrian Byron.
Yes.
Deanne Hamaji,
Yes.
Nan Warren,
Yes.
unanimously approved.
Okay, and item C is another full depth, as you can see the difference in the cost from 165 to 753,410 for full depth pavement replacement projects. I don't know if you've got a little map for that
Yeah.
one too.
Yeah, they almost, it's the same, it almost looks the same. You really gotta look to see the green on that. But I will tell people the sections of road. For this year, there are 4 different sections of road. So it's Lower Golden Rain Road, between Golden Rain Road and Pine Knoll Drive. Oakmont between Tice Creek Drive and Rockledge Lane, Canyonwood Court, and then Terra Granada between Ptarmigan and Avenida Sevilla. So for this work, we also bid this out to the same 5 companies, got 3 bids back, and Silicon Valley Paving was the lowest bidder, and we've had, great experience with them, so their references are all checked out. And I just want to make sure people know, you see 2 numbers in these that we asked for approval for. So we have to get the whole amount with the contingency approved, but the authorization, we enter into the contract, and that contract amount is shown as well. So the actual contract amount for Silicon Valley Paving for this work is $684,918.
And do you have a schedule? Like, are they going to do all of this big, complete, full depth thing at the same time? Or are they gonna come 1 month here, 1 month there? I mean,
It's within a rather constrained time frame. Martine will start working to map out like what the schedule is and do notifications of the areas as well as the community. In these locations, we know it's impactful to the people in those areas,
yeah.
but it will be nothing like last year with the gate. We had to do everything at the entry, so it'll be more isolated disruption, certainly this year.
But they will keep one
Yeah.
canyon with one lane open.
Yeah, so he designs it in mind with people need to get back to their manners and.
Yeah.
figure
And will
that out.
all this work be done this year?
Yes,
Both of these projects?
yes.
Okay,
Okay, I would like to move that we recommend to the board that they approve a capital budget expenditure not to exceed $753,410 for full depth pavement replacement projects, and authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Silicon Valley Paving for $684,918.00.
Second.
Janet Selden,
yes.
Adrian Byron.
Yes.
Nan Hamaji,
Yes.
Nan Warren.
Yes.
Motion is unanimously approved. Thank you.
Great. Seeing no other questions or concerns, we will have the meeting adjourned at 11:13, and we will be meeting back here September 10th.
Very good.